since 2016 um, to show you the editor's perspective. And the editor's perspective is quite different. I think Jeff did a very good job telling you a whole range of things. I'll also give you some numbers so you can understand what we're looking for and how we operate in this thing. So you've seen this, you've seen this. This is interesting. Google Scholar and what's happening for each individual. Because you really need to look into what's the contribution of individuals. And also something I like a lot is where they publish. What level of journals do they publish? Because that is also something that we're looking at. Okay. Tourism review. I took over end of 2016. The journal was not doing very well. We changed a whole range of things, and now we are flying. We're a generic journal, meaning that we are publishing anything in tourism. So if some journals, they are very specific in tourism. They only publish on sustainability, on economics, on technology, or whatever. In Tourism Review, we're very privileged that we can publish on everything. And the journal has been going from strength to strength. The latest thing, we got the site score tracker in April of 15, which is quite remarkable. Impact factor is 7.8 in 2022. We are really looking to what's going to happen in this year. If everything goes well, we will reach 9 point something. I'm just holding my breath and I'm praying every night. Is this important? It is and it isn't. It's good that the journal has got a high impact factor, so it means that a lot of people are reading it, a lot of people are citing it. It's a proxy for quality. It's a proxy to understand whether this is a journal that you would like to be associated with. Whoops. This is the story, and the story is the journal next year will celebrate 80 years. So we have a real volume 80 next year. And we got into SSCI and we start getting impact factors, and we're going like that. As I said, site score tracker in December it was 14.1, in April was 15. And you see all the trends. It's important that you publish in journals where people are reading. It's important that you, especially I see a lot of what we call ECRs, early career researchers. This is the currency. Now, a lot of people will kind of disagree with that. We'll have a big debate. Is this important? Is it not important? What I'm going to say is that it's really important to understand the impact of where you are publishing. And most of the universities and most of the bosses and the deans, they'll be looking into things like that because they need some kind of objective ways of assessing publications. So anyway, you see trends, it doesn't matter. I've said all that. Now, that's a bit. Wherever I go, I see people who say, I need to publish 3 papers. 3 SSCI papers. And they're so desperate. In some countries, to get a permanent position, you need to have 15 papers in 5 years. Especially Asian countries. China, and some of the universities. So, I find a lot of desperate people, especially in the beginning of their career, that they're desperately trying to publish 3 SSCI papers. And I think that's the wrong way of looking at it. The right way of looking at it is understand what is a long-term publication strategy, what would you like to be known for, and how you engage in creating science supporting all kind of development of ideas. And why do we develop ideas? We develop ideas because we really want to contribute to society, to communities, to big problems. And citations, success, and all the rest of it is coming after that. And of course, everybody's looking at the tip of the iceberg where they see the success, they see the publications, they never see the failures, they never see how many people are, how many times you've been rejected. A lot of people are surprised when I tell them I get rejected probably 50% of the papers I submit. And this is after 35 years of publication experience, knowing all the tricks and doing the right thing, I think. I now publish about between 15 and 25 papers per year. Not I write them all. I work with many different colleagues around the world, and I help them develop the idea and make something that is new and something that's interesting. But I've got to tell you, whoever is in this game have got to do with a lot of painful kind of things. Now, also I hear a lot of academics complaining, oh my God, my life's so difficult, And I said, okay, if you don't like this life, you're not a tree, you can always do something else. Go in the kitchen. I've worked in hotels for a long time. If you like agriculture, try this. Chase the rhinos. Nobody is forcing you to be an academic. But if you're an academic, you need to do research, you need to publish. If you're not publishing, you're not doing research, you're not creating knowledge, get out of the kitchen. Sorry. I'm known for saying some home truths, right? What we're looking for? We're looking for the bright ideas. I keep hearing sustainability. You know, most of the sustainability papers I hear is that they are wrong, they are doing something that they're destroying my planet. You go there, they're still using 50 lights, they're still using air conditioning, they're still wearing the wrong kind of clothes. You know, quite often when I go in a hot climate, everybody's wearing a tie and a jacket and everything, and then they've got their condition 17, and they're complaining about sustainability. It's happening with us. If you write something that needs to be new, fresh, clever, controversial. I had a conversation last night about gaming and hunting. Totally took me by surprise. You just confirm most of the things. That hunting is good. I'll publish a paper like that because it will be controversial. It will create some kind of discussion. It will actually question what we do. Okay, I don't like to kill human beings. I don't like to yeah. I don't like to kill anything. It happens from time to not literally, but you do. I'll tell you in a minute what we kill on the journal. You don't want to kill living organisms. But then, you know, I had some conversations and, whoa, you never thought about it. So you really need to understand those things. I'll publish a paper like this because it's kind of, it discusses things from a different perspective. It gives new knowledge that is challenging what we know. And most importantly, will do benefit the communities. If it does benefit the communities, I publish it. If it doesn't, I don't. So, what do we publish in Tourism Review Theory? Papers followed by, so a paper published in Tourism Review should include an explicit discussion about its theoretical contribution, but also followed by implication for research and practice. Should start with the literature review, focus on theoretical contributions, then the paper should clearly identify a research gap, demonstrate originality and novelty, originality and novelty, originality and novelty, originality and novelty, originality and novelty. Okay? And then being useful to the communities. If it's not original, if it's not novel, I don't publish it. Okay, it's simple as that, right? Maybe it's not so. You should showcase the original contribution of the paper. Again, if sustainability, and everybody else has said it, I remember in 91, Intercontinental Hotels created the first environmental manual for the hotels. It was 300 pages that says, reduce, reuse, recycle. I added respect, the 4 R's. 91. Then what Intercontinental Hotels did, to their credit, printed 300 copies of this and sent it to all the other hotel chains and says, look, this is not only for us, it's for everybody. We share the knowledge, we spend a lot of time, and I was somehow related to Intercontinental at that time. They said, okay, we know these things, but it's not for us to know only, for everybody to know. A lot of the sustainability research is just saying that 35 years later. Sarah is one of the very few people who are actually publishing new stuff. Because what she does is create solutions. If we do this experiment, what's going to happen? If the plate is that little, what's going to happen? And have you seen the reception? If the plate is so little, I ask for a bigger plate. Okay, it's quite simple. Because it was silly, the size of the plate. But there are experiments that you can see, and you can see, you know, the water meter, and being aware of what is your contribution. It's really, really important, because most of the times we're not aware. The thing with sustainability is also that people, when they're outside their normal environment, they operate differently. So they may have a 4-minute shower when you're at home, but when you're in a very luxury hotel that you're paying 500 euros for it, or wherever, and you're pampered, I'll have 12-minute shower, thank you very much, what's your problem here, right? But unless they understand what's the problem, okay? So, critical questions. And I also, when I write with my colleagues, or when people are sending me emails, I hate people who send me emails, say, is my article good enough? Because that means I do double the work. I receive about 1,000 articles per year. Plus, so we reject 65% on the first round. We reject another 20% on the second round. And then we've got something like 15% that is staying there and goes around, and eventually we accept about 10% of the papers. We received 1,000 on the initial. We published about in 2025 we will publish 100 papers for the first time ever, and it's about 10% that we accept. So I receive about 1,500 articles per year, which I've got to go through. Okay. So if you send me an email saying, is my article good enough? It means that you're trying to change this process and makes it more difficult. So before anybody submit a paper from my colleagues, my students, they've got to answer these questions to themselves and to others. Have I really something new to say? If you can keep a secret, and now it's on YouTube, sometimes I don't read the article of my students, I send it back, I say, what's new? You send it back again and say, what's new? On the third time, something is new, really new. What's the new knowledge and contribution theory? Why is this paper significant to whom? Who is interested to know? Who should read this paper? Is anybody interested in this paper? What is the original contribution? Does the work add enough knowledge to existing knowledge? Why someone will recommend this paper to his students? How does it progress existing global knowledge? Who will use the paper in their research? Who will benefit? Is the methodology justified? Are the results clearly articulated? So between 6:30 in the morning and 8:30, I went through 20 papers. The editor never sleeps. This is my good friend Fevzi Okumus, who started saying that, and now I'm saying that as well. In the beginning, I didn't understand what he meant. But 20 people, or actually about 60 people, were waiting for me to make a decision. The fact that I'm in South Africa does not really have a significance to them, because they're waiting for their acceptance to get a promotion, to get their first job, to finish their PhD and all the rest of it. So I cannot stop. meaning 6:30 to 8:30, 20 papers. But what I see first is findings. And in the findings, is there anything in the findings that says, I'm new, I'm interested? Yeah, kill animals, it's good for the community. That's new. What? What?
I'm gonna read this.
Yeah. Sustainability, reduce, yeah, okay, we know, we've said. How are you gonna do it? If you're saying reduce the air condition by 3 degrees, and that is the impact, that is interesting. Okay. So, yeah. This is coming from Saunders. It's called the research onion. Just position where your research is based. What methodology do you use? Why is it used? A lot of the journals, increasingly, they use multiple studies, mixed methods, a whole range of different things. You need to justify what you're doing. I've collected 400 questionnaires, then I put it through the machine and got some results, which means nothing. Doesn't get you published anymore. Okay. Would you publish this paper? Cultural and religious tourism in Romeri, Greece. Authentic experience and heritage contribution towards emotional reconnections with the historic heritage. Who will publish this paper? If you are the editor of Tourism Review, would you publish this paper? Yes, no? Yes. No. Couldn't care less. This I call the village of my mother syndrome. This is a fake paper. This is based on Romeri, which is the village of my mother in Greece, close to Kalamata. So this is where my mother was born. This is where my mother was born. This is the local church, and this is the school. And this is my mother in the school. This is my mother in the church. And it's in the south of Greece, Kalamata. And this is Costa Navarino, for those of you who know. And it's up on the mountain. Wonderful place. There. Are you interested in what's happening there? You are interested in what's happening in Romeri? You're not! You couldn't care less! Why would I be interested in what's happening in South Africa? Why would I be interested in what's happening in your village?
But doesn't this go back to the comment earlier when Jeff was talking, and to say, well, why would anybody be interested in that little place? And if there's something you can extrapolate, so something that's happening there that matters elsewhere.
Here's a good student who was listening. You get a present. Congratulations. Absolutely. What do we learn? I don't know if I've got the other. So this is my. So if you were doing this research, it will be published in the Journal of Romeri Studies, because everybody is reading that. That's in the local church. That's Sarandus, my uncle. That's my mother's brother. And what I didn't have a picture of is what's happening in this village right now. And what's happening in this village is that one of the villagers, one of the sons of the villagers, is a professor of architecture. And what he has done is he's taking his students to look into the old style building, and he's teaching people how buildings came up, and now the students are going and they're renovating the village. And I think the village one day, it will be a very viable destination. And what's going to happen is, I said that recently to them, I said, it can be a very nice yoga retreat, because up on the mountain, it's absolutely wonderful. So, it's exactly that. It's what do I learn out of this?
Just a quick one. Maybe before we dismiss this paper, what if the context of Romeri is actually applicable in several places?
This is exactly the point. If it is, but it needs to be, it will need to be turned around. So it needs to be the redevelopment, places that have been left alone for a long time, and now this is what's happening. The context. So the contributions on theory in the context of Ramiri back in theory. Okay, so you go theory, context, theory, rather than talking to me about context. I've got to tell you, most of the papers I get from Africa are context specific. Let me show you what's happening in my village. It used to be in China for many, many years, for about 10 years. Now the Chinese have learned how to do different things, and they are much more methodologically focused. So anything that is happening anywhere needs to be relevant to all of those places. Because you remember, I'm trying to sell this product, so the more people who are buying this product, they're reading my journal, they're subscribing to this, they're using the thing, the more communities I'm trying to support. So we're looking for the golden egg, and quite often people are submitting papers they don't realize where they're submitting. They're almost by chance, they keep throwing the paper in. They've never read the paper, the journal. They don't understand the style, they don't understand what we do. But their supervisor said, you need to publish on an SSCI 3 papers, right? Tourism review. Do you read the journal? Do you know latest papers published? Do you discuss papers published? Do you have any reference to them? Do you review for the journal? One of the best ways to publish in a journal is to review for the journal. Because you understand what's going on. You understand the comments from other people. So if you are not reviewers in the tourism review, please become a reviewer of the tourism review. We're desperately looking for reviewers. Quick question for you. How many reviewers do we select first time?
That's 5.
How many do we select to review a paper? Okay, I'll give you a little bit of a bonus. We're trying to get 4 reviews on the first round. Why do we try to get 4 reviews? Because typically in tourism review you'll have 3 or 4 rounds. So by the last round, I still need to have 2 reviewers with me. So from the 4, I still need to have people who persevere to have 2 reviews by the end. So how many reviewers do I select first time?
10, more than 4 or 5.
My aim is to have 4 reviews in 30 days. Not in 45 days, not in 6 weeks, not in 8 weeks. Not, I was teaching, I couldn't finish the review, can you please give me more time? I cannot, because the author cannot give me more time. They are waiting to get it published, they wait to finish a PhD, they wait to get promotion, right? So how many do we select?
10.
10 to 15. What's the maximum number of reviewers I've selected for one paper? Maximum number.
20.
Maximum number.
25.
37. Thank you. So, a lot of people are trying to get a rapid publication, not to solve a valid problem. Where is this escalator leading to? Desk rejection. That is the end. At the end there is desk rejection. Okay. 65% desk rejection. So in order to do that, you need to understand the publishing process. A lot of people don't understand the publishing process. Write brilliant papers, do refereeing, dealing with the reports, and face success. How do you know what's a good paper and what's a toilet paper?
You smell something.
That is context. Okay. How do you know when it's good paper and toilet paper? Quite often you don't. Contribution to theory. It must be universal truths applied across different contexts. This is really important. So not in a particular context. Anything I say from now on is confidential, of course, on YouTube, so how confidential it is. What do? I really want you to understand the process of what we do. Okay. Paper comes in, someone is looking at it. In tourist review, it's the editor-in-chief. I'm solely responsible. So if I've rejected your paper, desk rejected, I'm truly sorry, but it was me. I take the blame. Okay. In a lot of other journals, a lot of different people are looking into this. I look into all 1,000 papers that are coming through. And I make a quick decision. How long is this quick decision?
6 minutes.
Okay. So it needs to hit me quite quickly because I've got to have breakfast. I've got to listen to Sarah. I've got to prepare for my presentation. And I have 20 things to do, 20 papers to evaluate between 6:30 and 8:30 this morning.
6 minutes.
6 minutes. Okay. So it really needs to hit you. What am I looking for? Findings. You know, there's an abstract, it's a structural abstract that says findings, right? What did he find in this article? Oh, he doesn't know what he found. Okay, let him give him an opportunity to find it again, right? If he doesn't know what he finds, or if he found something that everybody else had found before, okay. Submission. Papers come in. 60-65% get rejected. Goodbye. Sorry. They get a very nice long message that says, normally, this is what people do wrong. And if you have got any sense, when you get this, you go, think, I've done this wrong, I've done this wrong, I've done this wrong. Most of the people, what they do, they send it to another journal. The clever people, what they do, they say, oh, let's improve this. 5% we reject and say, okay, this paper doesn't have legs because it talks about sustainability rather than about killing animals and hunting and all the rest of it. There is a bit of hunting in there, but if you really focus it on hunting and why hunting, blah, 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 or you provide the evidence that you do not have because it's implicit knowledge in your mind because you know of all the things, but the reader does not know because the reader is sitting somewhere in Japan and says, all these African guys, they want to kill animals. So you say, oh, if you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things, can you please come back? Okay. Then it goes to about 15 reviewers. The review, 20% is getting rejected. Then from here, we're going to about 15% that goes to revision. And then we're going into this loop of revision and more revision, more revision. And your target is not to get rejected. So what I say to my PhD students is not, your target is not to get accepted. Your target is not to get rejected. Because if you are not rejected, you can work with the editor, you can work with the reviewers to get accepted. Okay? Because they give you reasons why they like or they don't like your thing. They give you recommendations. And then eventually you get to this point where it says acceptance, then you go to publications, then you start promoting what you've done, you tell the world, I've published this paper, please read it. Because if you don't do, there's no impact, right? And you start the next paper. Now, I normally say to my PhD students to have 3 or 4 papers, writing 3 or 4 papers together. So you don't have one train, you've got several trains coming through. I don't tell them to cut very thinly. This is what we call salami publishing. I found this, but if I change three constructs, I'm going to do this. Because at some stage, even if it's not on the similarity, may not be very high, but I'm saying, what's the difference? It's one construct. Is that so significant? From bad experience, and now, before I accept, I see the profile of the researchers to see what else have they published. And if I see that they've published 2 months ago something that's very similar, I said, you have published this. Thank you so much. You know, it's not new, it's not novelty. Novelty is really important. The editor never sleeps. I wake up every day with a range of different things. If you indulge in the fire, last night was wonderful. So when you go back to your room, you don't have any strength to do any intellectual work. So it will have to wait for the next day. So you're either in the night or not. The editor has still to teach, to research, to write papers themselves, to administer, to manage departments, mentor, doing all these things, and edit that. I mean, Sarah, all the editors in tourism right now, we're very good friends, we work very closely together, but we're all in the same situation. Why do we do it? It's a bigger question. That's psychoanalysis, but we do it. Okay. Do you volunteer? We need more volunteers to do reviews. There are a lot of people out there that says, I want my paper to be published, but I'm lazy and I'm also not willing to actually contribute. I've sent a message to several people. I said, look, if you're not reviewing, you're not going to publish. Every paper that gets published gets on average 12 to 15 reviews by the time it's getting published. It means that it gets 6 to 7 days free consultation. So if you're not willing to put that back in the system collapses. So I'm expecting those people who publish in Tourism Review to review for Tourism Review and contribute, because they get so much free advice that they need to volunteer their time to others. That's how the system operates. This is my list that's going in the background with all the good systems of the publishers. I've got to do it manually. 2024 is now fully booked. 2025 is 75% booked, because we've got so many papers that are coming through. So I need to be very, very selective on what gets published. Your objective is not to get rejected. Okay, a lot of people don't understand that, especially the young guys, they've just started. Oh, my paper is not accepted. Yeah, it will not be accepted. R&R. We got yesterday an R&R from Annals of Tourism Research. We've got four reviews. 3 are okay. 1 is quite complex. So we'll work on it. So last night, this is what I was looking. What makes a good review? Something that's insightful, articulate, and constructive. Some of the reviewers says, how dare you send a paper on sustainability? Because I'm the expert. Nobody else has got any knowledge on this, right? It's really, we are working with reviewers that they would like to improve other people's work, and they engage in this intellectual conversation. And sometimes they say, yeah, that's my opinion, I'll accept others. We expect the authors to actually engage in this conversation back, and I'll show you some examples where they haven't. So eventually, this is, I think this paper was published. Will I be back? It's about nostalgia, about students who are going on an exchange program, and they will come back, right? So I get the reviews that says reject, minor revision, accept. Perfect. Lovely, right? What do you do? In a situation like that, what you do is you evaluate the reviewers. So you really need to understand why the reviewers are saying that, and you're going to that. The other thing is that quite often, what's happening is that there's a confidential comment to the editor-in-chief that the authors do not see. And quite often here, reviewers are saying quite nasty things. And there's no point of telling me the home truths. They need to tell the authors. Quite often I take some of this, obviously anonymously, and I said, look, this is what they think. Some of my reviewers are getting upset, but I said, there's no point of telling me he's a bad guy because of this and this and this. You really need to say so they can improve the...
Do you sometimes reject reviews?
Yes, yes. We reject reviews, especially when someone says, can you code my 10 papers, please? This paper is rubbish because it hasn't cited all my papers. So this is, and actually with black, there's different flags on the system. There's a black flag, there's all the colors. So you don't need the flag next to your name. This is really important, yeah? The yellow, red, there are some people that the minute I see the person and they say, because I don't have a very good memory, they say an explanation why they've got this flag. So they're out of the system. And also sometimes, some reviewers are very critical. And critical and constructive is good. Critical and really critical and dismissive is bad. So we get them out of the system. Occasionally, if they're young guys, I write them a message and I say, look, this was not helpful.
Young guys are very critical.
Young guys are normally very critical, partly because they've suffered enough, or they think that they suffer enough, and they don't have the long-term suffering where you've got knowledge, yeah? It's quite interesting, this. And what I find is that I find two types of reviewers. The softy, oh my God, how can I reject this person? How can I reject this paper? I can understand that this is someone who spent a lot of time on this. And I've got the other one. How dare he write that? This is the wrong methodology. You know? And you're trying to get somewhere in the middle. So what you get is you get accept, major, minor review, resubmit, and reject. And again, as long as you get R&R, revise and resubmit, you're still on the game. The minute that you get it is with regret, if you don't get rejected, you are winning. If everything fails, I've got a lovely bottle of writer's tears, which I use every time I get rejected, right? No matter what you do, please do not write do not respond immediately on a bad review. Go swimming, go on holiday, do whatever. Don't respond. Read very carefully. So what I'm advising people to do is to do a table. This is the comment, this is the response, this is the... So this is 1, 2, 3, 4 reviewers. And this is getting a little bit ridiculous. This is 32 pages of a response. That's from the Journal of Product and Brand Management that my friend Cleopatra is editing. So the response was longer than the actual paper. This is happening all the time. Not respond. So this is a real story. We believe reviewer number 2 always reviewer number 2. Is not so familiar with the hospitality technology development. So he or she has many misunderstandings about the content we presented. However, we appreciate reviewer 2 contribution to improve the quality of the paper. In general, so the author is responding, right? In journal publication review process, we welcome discussion and idea exchange to enhance the paper quality. No paper is perfect at the beginning, and none of us is the smartest person in the world that can do everything. Maybe reviewer do is in a bad mood when he reviewed our paper. Don't do that at home, okay? So, how do editors decide? We read everything and we make a judgment. The reviewer is the consultant to the editor. The editor is responsible. Some journals is using associate editors. I'm increasingly using more associate editors to do this. So they are reading everything and then they make a report. Quite most of them actually I do myself, and then I have the final thing. Different journals are set up in different ways. Okay. Journal of Business Research is getting something like 10,000 papers submitted, and I think they are publishing about 1,000 papers. They've got 60 associate editors that are doing that, and they've got 3 editors in chief. So it's quite complicated. Each journal is different. How long does it take the editor to process this is the most important question. For me, you remember what I was saying yesterday, real time? If you're sending a paper to me, when do you get an answer?
Very fast.
How fast?
1 month.
3 days. If it's desk rejected, you get within 3 days, sometimes within 3 hours. Now, if I send it out, it's about 1 month because I've got to wait for the people to come back. We give them 1 month. 32 days on average, okay. Which is really important because if you really want to publish, you don't want your paper to be locked for 6 months somewhere and then to come back and say, or you don't want the editor to look at it 25 days later. I've had situations with my papers as well that the editor hadn't looked at it for 3 months. And you know, in my case, doesn't matter really, but my collaborators, it really mattered for them. So we had to do things. Sometimes things go really bad. The linear algebra and applications received on the 14th of June 95 and accepted on the 8th of May 2006. Sometimes we get it wrong. This is in 5th of August 92. Nature wrote to St. Peter Radcliffe about his paper not being good enough, not approved and all the rest of it. In 2019 he got the Nobel Prize based on this. This is my favorite, Katalin Kariko. Hungarian lady, she went to the United States. She couldn't get funding for her research. Pennsylvania University kicked her out. She's the lady who invented MRI vaccines that we use for COVID. Again, Nobel Prize in last year. She couldn't publish anything. Okay. I think tourism don't make this kind of mistakes. Science is a little bit more complicated, but there are lots of mistakes out there. So, summary, yes, submit. But please, before submit, read again. Ask your husband, your girlfriend, your mistress, your grandmother, anybody to read it. Does it make sense? I find quite often as the editor, you're kind of trying to, you're in a surreal reality. You're trying to see, does it make sense? Has anybody read this? I know that you're in a hurry, but please. Okay. Is it interesting? Does it make a good story? Who is going to benefit? Who is going to benefit? What is new? Please answer these questions. So this is coming from Sarah, actually. There are some misconceptions. The editor does not like this and that and the other. No, that doesn't. The journal editor reviewers have no memory. The worst thing is that if you send any paper on technology, it is on any journal, it is very likely that it's gonna end up in my desk. So if I've rejected it for tourism management, I'll reject the same paper on Annals, I'll reject the same paper in JTR, and the same paper. So I'm trying to keep reviews, so I copy and paste in the same kind of way. Okay. People remember, I've got a bad memory, but the systems remind me. Publishing is like buying a lottery ticket. No, it takes a lot of energy, and editors want to reject manuscripts. No, we want to accept. That's why we do it, because we are curious to find new ideas, interesting things. We don't want to reject, but we have got constraints in terms of space, and we also we've got constraints in terms of time, and we also we respect our readers. If I can get away with it, it's okay. No, it's not. The worst thing after the black flag or the red flag is to get a retraction from a journal. This is really severely damaging. Have a senior co-author increased publication chances? No, but a senior co-author normally knows the ropes, and they can see immediately what's going on, and hopefully they'll pick up things and they can help. And once you have survived one round of review, the deal is done. No, it's not, and I can tell you a lot of these things. So please download, read regularly tourism review, ask the students to read, review papers, submit papers, invite to support you. And what I'm going to do for you, since we're a smaller boutique conference, is I'm going to do a clinic. Anybody who's got a paper but needs to be read, written and printed, and likes to see me from now until you leave, come and I'll do a quick clinic with you. It's probably I'm going to desk reject, but I'm going to desk reject very quickly, and I'm going to tell you why desk reject.
Right.
Yeah?
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Finished. Alas.
Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. Yeah, we're a bit over time. I think maybe if there's questions
I'll be outside.
outside. Yeah, maybe is there a burning question that we can maybe take one question and then we'll do the other questions later?